In the last decades, the internet has revolutionized not only the way human beings communicate, but also it has transformed the way knowledge is spread. That's the reason I don't agree with the statement the internet is as important as the printing press to the global spread of knowledge. And I don't agree simply because, in my opinion, the internet has become much more important than the traditional press in this sense, and for two main reasons. Firstly, the internet has increased the amount of information and knowledge that can be shared, and that's because it has completely changed the way that both individuals and companies access the information that they need, and what's more, their ability to create and provide new contents by themselves. At the same time, knowledge can be shared in a quicker way, and all the contents are shared in a quicker way and constantly outdated every minute. All of it thanks to not only the social networks, but also the journalism 3.0. And secondly, the internet is much more accessible in different ways than the printing press. Some of the keywords here would be cheaper, non-time limited access, and no geographical limitations. Firstly, I want to go into a little bit more about the first idea of how the internet has increased the amount of information and knowledge that can be shared by changing the communication and information foundations. Contrary to the traditional press, in which the knowledge or information is normally transmitted by one emitter or a spoken person to a large group of receivers, thanks to the social networks and what's called the social journalism, the participation of the audience has increased significantly. As a result, we can be informed not only by a printing newspaper and its journalism, but also by anonymous citizens that live or that can live in each corner of the world. To sum up, thanks to the internet, there are more on-the-spot reporters around the world, and therefore more information and knowledge that can be shared. The role of the citizen journalism in the Arab Spring is an illustrative example of this. I'm sure you will remember how the cyberactivism influenced the media agenda and organized people who contribute to a revolutionary way of demonstrations and protest, which in the case of countries like Tunisia, for example, obtaining new progressive governments. This wouldn't have happened with the only help of the traditional press, obviously. There is also another reason that explains why the internet is more important than the printing press to the global spreading of knowledge. The information in the net can be updated every minute, so it's spread in a significantly quicker way than the printing press, which normally is updated every 24 hours. As a result, digital newspapers and social networks are able to spread knowledge in a quicker manner and an effective manner than traditional press does. And nowadays, this makes a huge difference. Citizens need to be informed about whatever they want at any time. They can't wait till the next day to buy a newspaper and read the news. A clear example of that could be the companies that need updated economical information in order to achieve or to take quick decisions that can affect the global financial markets. Now, when it comes to accessibility, there's no doubt that the internet is much more accessible than the traditional press, and this is obviously related to how the knowledge is spread too. On the one hand, traditional press isn't normally free. That means that you have to pay in order to get a copy or a newspaper, although there's a possibility that you read the newspaper in a public library without paying. However, internet, in my opinion, is much more affordable because despite paying a monthly bill for access, you can easily get connected to the net for free in most public places or even in restaurants or coffee shops. So it's true that for both services, printing newspapers and internet, you pay an amount of money, but internet offers you much more possibilities to the users, not only reading the newspapers or the access to, but also an access to an endless number of websites, and therefore a vast amount of information and knowledge. And that's Also, the reason that the internet can reach a large audience while the printing press is becoming less and less popular, mainly between the teenagers, yeah. And in my personal experience, I consider much more interesting paying for the internet access than paying for a newspaper, and also most of my friends and relatives, because I get a better and more complete service than the one the printing press can offer me. Moreover, the internet has no geographical limitations, yeah, which was the other point. While the community printing press is generally located in the first world, the internet reaches every corner in the earth, not only in the industrialized countries, but also in the poorest countries in the world. This is tremendously important fact that is helping to the spread of democracy around the world. In all its history, the printing newspaper has never achieved such thing. And in this sense, the internet has demonstrated being much more powerful than the printing press. We can see a lot of examples of these in poor countries, like currently they have an enormous participation in the internet. Yeah, for example, even China or Russia. So, despite the fact that I think that printing press is still important to spread the knowledge in our society, I strongly believe that internet has become much more important in this sense nowadays. And this is because the social networks and digital newspapers have increased our possibilities or being better informed, and also they have promoted citizens' participation in the duty of creating and providing new information, highlighting the importance of feedback in the new era of knowledge and communication. This idea is connected with the most interesting internet features, such as updating and the speed, which make possible to the readers they match much better the readers' expectations in this sense. And aside from this, and contrary to the printing press, the internet is much more affordable in economic terms for citizens and of any social status or age, yeah. And also the internet reaches different targets around the world, no matter which is their geographical location.